Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, discussing Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman is Chris. How are you today, Chris?
I'm ultimately webbing along. We'll have a good time talking Spider-Man.
And Ron. How are you today, Ron?
You know me, I'm doing great, dude. Anytime we can get the Logjam Trinity together, it's always a good day. So,
Yeah. Logjam Trinity, Logjam Media. That's what that's a reference to, which is what this podcast is a part of. So make sure you check out all of our shows, including Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast, Pod Awakens, a Star Wars fan podcast, and of course this show. And a few others. You can find all of that by going to our Logjam accounts on Twitter. All right, yeah, so we're talking Ultimate Spider-Man 3, as this is our third month here, diving into it. And of course, like we predicted, it opens up with March, right? So this is what's going to happen. Each of these is going to take place in a month of the comic.
I just really hope that doesn't mean that it's only going to run for 12 issues. That'll be a bummer.
I think they would have said something if it was a limited,
Mm-hmm.
like a limited series for 12.
Is that like? Would you consider that to be? I feel like that's like right on the edge. Like I feel like if you're doing like 6 or,
I would consider it limited if they're like, we are doing 12. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're like, that's all we're doing.
Okay.
Now, if it was like an ongoing that just gets canceled after 12, then I would, that's not a limited series. But I think this is planned to be a ongoing thing. But I had the same thought you did. I was like, oh, I wonder if this means we get 1 year. But I assume that they have it planned out since they're still about to launch so many of these, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're about to get Ultimate X-Men. We're about to get the Ultimates at some point here too. So we got they're still expanding Ultimate Universe. So I assume that maybe this would be something that drops after December, or they just continue it and it's like January of year 2. Almost, you know what I'm saying? And they just continue going forward with that. But this thing just got its 5th printing, issue 1. I doubt that they'd be like, oh yeah, wrap it up at 12.
Yeah.
It's like even if they did plan for it to be to just a limited, it's like maybe we rethink that now.
Yeah.
The response to this is going to warrant more and more. I think it's coming out hot. People are enjoying it. I think we're fine. Plus, you got to remember, you can always change that monthly format after a while. Like you don't have to be stuck in that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Ultimate Spider-Man 3. So this was the cover then. I know there was some talk about that last week. The original number 3, not last week, last month. The original issue 3 had like Kingpin on the cover, and a downed helicopter and all that. I don't know if that was just like, again, a placeholder. They didn't want to spoil this. I don't know. But then they started using this cover instead. Yeah, I think even the third one, the end of issue 2 had the Kingpin one in the back cover, I thought.
It may have.
And we found this one on the app is what we had found or something.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, because it still had that like Marvel Ultimate like thing on the side, so it wasn't just a Kingpin like variant or something.
Right.
But yeah,
so interesting.
It could just be that they wanted to hide the Bullseye reveal until as late as possible. I mean, it was pretty epic the way the whole thing happened, as we'll get into. So I can see why they may have wanted to keep that one a little closer to the vest, especially with how much the first 3 covers gave away. When we got those, we were basically like, oh, because we got all 3 of those before the first one even dropped, correct? At least like the first 2, I believe.
Yeah, I believe all 3 with the Kingpin one. The original Kingpin one was all released, I think. Like the first one was months before the first issue launched because they were like, hey, we're coming out with this. Like, check it out. And then the second one was like, well, like we were talking about it at the same time as issue 1. And I think that at that point they had already had issue 3 out at that point, like the cover.
Yeah.
The wrong cover.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they gave a lot away in those first 3. So maybe they were just like, let's, let's save some stuff here.
Yeah, so this synopsis here, Peter Parker's new life gets even more complicated. Spider-Man sizes up the new hero, Green Goblin. As they team up to fight a new supervillain, secrets about the corporations running North America are revealed, and you'll never guess who discovers Spider-Man's secret identity. Which now we can guess because we saw it.
We know. And I mean, I don't know if you guys want to just kind of like jump around and go like
Yeah.
point to point, but if you wanted to dive into that, uh, it was either the first issue or the last one. Obviously, it was one of those two because those are the only two we've done so far. In one of those, I mentioned that I thought Harry's suit might be Stark Tech. It looked very similar. When we saw him pull that move and kind of Bluetooth his way into Peter's suit and take his mask off like that, I feel like that's basically that's exactly what Peter's Stark suit did to Ock in No Way Home. So I think that's basically confirmation in my mind that Harry does indeed have a Stark Tech suit, and he had the repulsor come out of his wrist at one point. It's got to be Stark. It's got to be Stark.
I agree with that assessment.
Do you want to know something interesting? That Kingpin cover is for issue 6.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So it was a mistake. So it was just a flat out mistake.
I don't know if it was a mistake or if they what they were doing, but it's now for issue 6, and it says it's the end of the opening arc of Ultimate Spider-Man. So we'll kind of have our first conclusion of like the first arc, the first 6 issues. In that issue 6, and I guess that would be what like the trade paperback would be, issues 1 through 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably where we'd be. They used to be like 7 all the time, but now
that's
like
so funky that they would like. I just that. I mean, I don't want to say it had to have been a mistake, but like, just very odd, especially to release. I mean, that's 4 issues from the time of when we first saw that image. That's a long time to release a cover. There's comics that I got subscribed to right now on my pull box thing that
don't even have a cover
for 2. Yeah, 2 down the line. So yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So this I didn't grab the screen cap of this, but what was going through your minds when it pairs Peter's mask to like Goblin's tech? And the fact that like Peter, I guess, had such a like okay reaction to it once they like introduced themselves, like right once we have, hi, I'm Harry, and we get Peter. At first it seemed a little nefarious, like I'm just gonna take over your mask and show it, but then they kind of come to an understanding. But I guess let's start with Ron. Your thoughts when that scene was happening, because I was like, oh my god, like maybe Goblin isn't as good as what people think. I do think that still is the case at some point, to create a conflict between Goblin and Peter. I think this is ultimately going to be
yeah,
pun intended. I think this is ultimately going to be the way that they actually do a fun twist on Harry and Peter's friendship, is that they become friends after, like as their Spider-Man Goblin personas instead of their boyhood, Peter and Harry personas.
Mm.
And then eventually we'll have a falling out that leads to those two fighting, is probably what my mind is going to. But what was your thoughts when it started like taking over his suit?
Well, and just to reemphasize what I just said, my first thought was bang, Stark Tech. It instantly went to that No Way Home scene on the bridge. I don't say I thought it to be too nefarious. It was definitely interesting, obviously. My only hope is that they don't go like too classic tropey, and it's just they conflict because Harry's method of dealing with the villains is more brutal, and he wants to kill, and Peter, like, I hope it's something a little more layered than that, than just very classic comic book tropey kind of stuff.
Interesting. Do you think, I guess I'll put this to you, Chris, and Ron can chime in if he wants after you're done, but do you think that maybe we know that some characters know what happened in the prior other universes before the makers remade all of this, right? That's why like Iron Man says, "Hey Peter, here's your stuff. Like, here's the spider." Is it possible somebody might try to get in Peter's head and be like, "Dude, this guy isn't good. He's always turned bad in these other universes." You know what I'm saying? Like, he's usually your greatest foe. If somebody tells them that type of thing, I don't know, just be an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, I like the idea of Goblin and Spider-Man starting as friends. I like the idea of Harry and Peter figuring that out. But I don't think they're really on the track to be friends right now. I think they're just like mutual, like, okay, you got a suit, I got a suit. We're both out at night. We're both seeming to have the same intentions. And I think neither of them is being that open. And that's where you're going to get a lot of story development because I don't think Peter truly trusts this goblin guy yet, but I also think he's like, okay, well, he's not the worst thing in the world. So that's going to be interesting right there. It's going to be interesting to see how much Harry knows and how much he can use that to manipulate Peter if he knows a lot more.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to be revealed that Harry got essentially the exact same like Obi-Wan message that freaking Peter got. You know what I mean, with the sort of little hologram when he gives him his suit. I think that Harry probably got the exact same one and sort of like it just kind of catches him up on all this crap. Probably right after Norman passed away in this story. If he's even really dead, who knows? That one still feels a little murkier than they're.
We'll find out in issue 5.
Really,
I was just reading the synopsis. It says like the secret history of Harry Osborn or something. So I think that's like going to be a flashback, mostly of Harry or something.
We better get a good variant cover of that with like Raimi design or something cool like that.
How about like a Goblin No More type of thing?
Yeah.
I think they have the variants on here already.
No? Anything cool?
So far, no. One of them is blacked out, like you can't see it, and then the other one is just kind of a classic Spider-Man going up against this version of Goblin. So.
Oh, okay. Actually, I might have. I know I reserved a variant for one of their issues coming up. I'm not sure which one it was.
Oh yeah, Volume 1 is already coming out in trade paperback on September.
Really?
Wow.
They're gonna turn this thing out pretty
quick. That
quick.
Seems a little too early.
Huh.
So they'll go from so it'll be 3 months after issue 6 wraps up that the whole thing will be on trade paper.
Dude, this is so weird. Sorry, not to derail things. So my pull box for my comic store has this cover as number 6.
That
which
is
is
weird.
literally the cover that we just wrong way. Literally the cover that we just
Right.
read. What is going on? This is all right. So at least we know it's not us. My
yes,
life,
it was some sort of
crazy again.
Marvel shenanigans that have thrown it off like that.
Yeah. And I'm going to replug in my camera here because my light just did the thing any single time that I put my phone near it.
Well, at least now we know.
Yeah. Let's talk. I guess let's talk about the beginning when it seems like still so far the only one that knows is Peter's daughter, and they do what people have called and you guys have called like the fashion show, right? We get the great line here of her like, I like that it's got a spider on it, but it's kind of more scary. It's like more scary than the plain black one you were wearing before.
I was getting such like Monsters Inc. vibes from like that, like Boo.
That's a good pull,
yeah.
And then we just see like, this is what she's referring to. It's just like almost like the symbiote suit, right? Almost like PS5 version because that spider is huge.
Yep.
Then we go into this one actually, almost a Ben Reilly.
Like Ben Reilly. Yeah. Yep.
We get almost a Scarlet Spider type without the legs.
Yep.
And then we get like a blue and black, which
that was my
I know
favorite.
that design is that design is in the game too.
Yeah, it's
I
something
think it's different
similar to
colored.
it.
It's black and red, I believe, is the base color on it.
Love it. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, that's my favorite
Mhm.
of them.
But then they
I do
settle on that one, the classic.
Yeah. So I do hope though that we do get like different suits in this. I hope that wasn't like Hickman's way of being like, here, we'll show you some cool suits, but we're just gonna keep this black and or red and blue the whole time. I would like to see, for special fights and if he has to like go to space or something like that. One of the things I love the most about comic book Spider-Man is how many suits there are. So give us at least a few here and there. I mean, they did start us with the black suit, which was cool. But again, I hope that's not just like, all right, we'll give it to you now because we're not doing that in this run. It won't be a deal breaker by any means because everything else about this run is fantastic. But it would just be a little bit of a bummer.
See, I'm the opposite. I like I like this being the way that we get these, and then it's like, just give me this all day long.
Mm.
I'm a classic suit guy. Give me that.
Gonna have to call you Borden instead of Jordan.
Well, I don't necessarily.
play the I think you should leave meme here of give me that, because that's what I like.
Give me
I
that.
like
Give me
this.
that.
Give me that.
I don't.
I'm joking.
I don't
But
necessarily
I'm not
need
joking.
alternate suits, but if we get alternate suits, I like there being a story reason for it. So this little montage being all we got, I'm completely okay with that. But if the story says, "Hey, you need a stealth suit," or "Hey, you need a suit for this purpose," then yeah, I'm all for that.
To go to space, yeah, to be able to breathe
How
and,
how easy
outside the atmosphere.
how easy was it for him to make these? Because it's like one day, but like, is he just does it just like change
I'm go-
itself? Like, that's what I'm
I'm
wondering.
gonna guess. I'm gonna guess it's Stark nanotech, and he could just kind of beep boop boop, and kind of
Yeah,
maybe there's like templates in there, and you could change the colors, something like that.
almost like
I don't think he.
Captain Marvel, right? Like when she
Mhm.
changes her
hmm
green and black to
The green,
the
and it
red,
goes to the
blue,
red,
and
and the
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe.
it makes me think of Far From Home when Back in Black comes on and he's like, "Yes, I love Led Zeppelin."
Yeah,
And you're like,
Happy's just like,
it's still one of my favorite jokes in the whole MCU. But yeah, it's like him making a suit like that. It's in my little
Yeah,
head canon.
when he's making the suit. Yeah,
Yeah, it's in
that's
my
pretty
head
yeah.
canon. He's like, "Yeah, I love Led Zeppelin."
good. Chris, you really like this part where he's sitting around. It shows his inexperience, right? He doesn't know where to find these bad guys,
It
and
also
it kind
shows
of,
creativity. I mean, he's like, "I'm bored. I'm
yeah,
waiting. I'm gonna make a web hammock." That's cool. I always joke that I want to like get a hammock and take a nap at work. So I love that just for that. But I actually showed a couple of coworkers of that panel. And it's like, hey, don't I always say that? But yeah, I thought it showed creativity. It was fun. Like if you were
I,
Spider-Man, you would do this.
I will say too that panel looks like it was like ripped straight out of like an 80s Spider-Man comic. It just feels like so classic, like kind of dorky, playful, like Peter with the donut just sitting there with the pigeons and everything. Like it definitely has those sort of classic vibes to it. Um, just kind of shifting into some story stuff though. So we got this scene with Peter talking to Jonah and Ben at their new crappy little office that they bought.
still doesn't have a name.
Um, still doesn't. Who knows? Um, but they make a mention about how the higher ups at the Bugle are shutting down stories uh, based around the Goblin, and that one was kind of interesting to me because, like, initially when I read that, my brain was like, if you're a kingpin and you're running the Bugle, which we know he is, wouldn't you kind of like go out of your way to maybe put out a smear campaign about this guy who's just going to all of your, I don't know, whether they're businesses or fronts, just whatever, all your little hideouts and taking out all of your goons? Like, wouldn't you kind of like maybe put out this kind of smear campaign being like, hey, this guy's dangerous, he's a vigilante, yada, yada, this and that, and try to paint him in a bad light?
No, and I think we kind of saw that at the end of the second issue. But
Mm,
I think his thought is, he doesn't want this out there. He doesn't want people to know that his businesses are getting hit. He doesn't want there to be any sort of hint that he is not above board, right, with
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing. He wants to be kind of like what I would say maybe his persona in the um Into the Spider-Verse. It seems like
Mm.
that persona of like he is putting on the front. He does the whole spider thing, right? Like the benefit for Spider-Man at his place in Into the Spider-Verse, and he's trying to put on this front of I'm an above board guy. I'm not doing stuff in my basement. I think that's what he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to do here is like if I can control the media and nobody else is printing this, which right now it seems like there's nobody to even really challenge him in this market. So he's controlling the narrative. And he's able to say, no, let's focus on this vigilante and showing
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man instead of showing what's going on behind the curtain, right? Like he's almost like the
Mm-hmm.
Wizard of Oz. He's like, don't look behind the curtain. Look at this guy. Look at Spider-Man. Might be a little bit more difficult if they're both working together now for that to be ignored. And then also you have whenever Ben and Jonah actually get working, I assume they'll be covering a lot of the Goblin stuff, which I think is hinted at in the cover for next week.
They have an awful lot of
Mhm.
work to
Next
do.
month.
That office was in some rough shape.
Well, they got a month because we'll pick up in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, hey, that's how you keep costs under, right? I guess. I looked at that and I was like, man, that is some bargain shopping.
Yeah, they're like maybe.
They really only got to clear out one room, enough for them to have a workspace. The rest of it's just unused space. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Jordan. It's kind of like if he shines a light on Goblin, the logical question is, well, why is Goblin doing this stuff?
Right,
And it's like,
exactly.
oh yeah, no, not because I have a bunch of illegal businesses that
Yeah.
he's trying to put under or anything. Definitely not. But then a little later on, we get to this bullseye fight, and he sort of makes Fisk out to be like small time. Like he's not. He's I believe he calls him a puppet, which is really surprising because we're used to Fisk being all powerful, the one pulling the strings, not the one with his strings being pulled.
Right.
They refer to the real masters, things like that. I'm gonna guess that's the Maker. So
I think so. I think
we'll
this was kind of talked about in issue 2. I'm trying to find if I have it.
Well, we were talking about that the last episode where the way the Ultimates universe is designed and Fisk is kind of a big fish but in a small pond. So maybe he doesn't have overarching power. He has power in his
That's right, because
bubble.
I did the big Fisk pun.
Big Fisk in a
Yeah.
small pond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a Jordan special. It was, BOGO
I'm going
Jordan
back through
puns.
issue 2, but I think I remember something about like when he was in his office, somebody mentioning like that was above him, and I do think
Mhm.
that's what Bullseye is referring to here. Is like this is the fun little twist. I think it is the Maker, maybe not the Maker himself, but whoever the Maker has working for him that's pulling all of these strings, while the Maker is
Mhm.
probably dealing with so much other stuff, right?
The
Is
stuff
what
we're going to probably see in the Ultimates when that
right,
comes
right,
out.
something like that. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through trying to see if I can find this at all, but oh yeah, it's a guy, um, Monsieur Britain is who what he calls him. Um, so he says here, I am currently under siege by a mask-wearing vigilante. It has been very public and very loud, but it serves us to eclipse that noise with an even louder one. So I'm giving people a better story to follow, and that's what he's talking about with the other one.
Mhm.
And he says, and for what the guy in the room says, and as for what serves us, you serve us, myself and my fellow partners. We divided this world amongst us, and after that, we have divided it further and gifted people like you your little
Right.
kingdoms.
Right.
So it does seem like Bullseye is referencing, right? Bullseye Bullseye references that,
Mhm.
like, yeah, he kind of works for Kingpin, but he's working for somebody that's bigger, doing bigger things, and in this case, he's just kind of protecting Kingpin stuff because it affects the other people's projects.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I'm super curious to see who else is on this team. Uh, yeah, obviously the makers at the top of the food chain there, but like, is it going to be Doom? Like, there's so many. I would have said maybe Killmonger, but as we're seeing in Ultimate Black Panther, he's actually kind of a good guy in this world. Him and Storm have been doing some stuff together. Excited to see where that goes. But yeah, there's it's going to be really interesting because I'm trying to think in terms of like what villains would you put above Kingpin in terms of like if you were creating this like hierarchy of villains and you want villains who can sort of lead and manage and like do things in the shadows, you would think Kingpin would be way at the top of that thing, no?
No, I feel like Kingpin would be somebody that I would definitely let. Like, it seems like he really cares about running New York and stuff, and I would just let him have that little sandbox and just let him play, right? Because I
Mm.
don't want him in my way doing what I'm doing, and I would assume the people at the top are more like. I mean, I don't really want to speculate too much, but like Doom is probably somebody that I would say that would be more up in that level, right? Like that I would put above Kingpin. It's like they're going to be worried about more stuff up here. The
Yeah,
Mhm.
Maker, Doom, any of the
It's like
big
high evolutionary,
Avenger
like
level
yeah.
threats, I would say would probably be up there, while you're like street level guys are down in the kingdoms, doing their own stuff.
Mhm.
yeah. Fisk is more worried
Actually,
about
is
being a king. He wants his kingdom. He doesn't really care about the world.
true. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Jordan, in that ultimate, and I don't, Chris, you might have read it. I'm not sure. That ultimate universe kind of like prepper thing. Isn't Doom a good guy in this world? Weren't they going to rescue him from the Maker? Wasn't that the
I
the
forget.
plot of that?
That might have been.
I think it was. I
I'm
could be
gonna.
again. Yeah, that was some months ago now that we read that. It was like
That was like
October or
November.
November.
Yeah, like October, November or
Yeah.
something.
hmm But yeah, I could have swore. But either way, the point remains. There's it's going to be probably some bigger names in there.
Yeah.
Maybe they kind of have like one representative for each like aspect. You know, you've got like a high evolutionary in the cosmic side. You've got a, geez, uh, I'm kind of drawing a blank, but just you get what I'm saying. Just like sort of you get okay, maybe like Namor's the one running the like the sea aspect of things. You know what I mean? Just kind of like how he's got a guy in charge of everything is what I'm trying to get at here.
Oh, okay. This guy that's in the office was in this Ultimate Universe primer thing.
Oh, okay.
And he called him Monsieur Britain.
Monsieur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks like he's wearing like the Captain Britain stuff. I don't know if that's who it's supposed to be. He's got
Well, if
like
he
black.
called him Monsieur Britain, yeah, that would.
Yeah, even though you think they would call him by his actual name, not his.
Yeah, it's the Ultimates universe, baby.
Yeah, it's true.
No rules.
But it does look like he has like something red here on his thing. I don't know if he's got like the Union Jack type flag going on here.
Mhm.
And he's in a room talking with all these other people on screens that are in those other regions of the earth. And somebody says, "We do what we do. We tell lies so large that it's inconceivable that they are fabricated or false. And we cover that with just enough truth to sell it. And we put his name on it, Stark." And it's talking about how they're throwing the narrative of Stark being the one to have blown up the whatever it was, part of New York, Times
Yeah.
Square, whatever it was.
Mhm.
God, this is kind of a little too close to reality. This swindling of liars at the top. Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I see anything about Doom, but
We're just gonna have to reread that one again.
yeah, it's actually a big X, a red X he has on his chest. It looks like.
Okay.
and he's talking with all of the society people of all of these different regions. Pretty interesting. Yeah, we'll have to
And it
dive
obviously,
back.
yeah, it doesn't show any of them. It just kind of shows the screens or whatever,
It
right?
shows some of them, but like they're not anybody I really recognize. So we'll have to go back and try to study that for the next one. But it seems like they are building to something along the lines with that. And I assume Spider-Man's not going to deal with it that much, right? It's going to be like Spider-Man's dealing with the North America version of what's going on in that region, which would be Kingpin. So
Yeah.
There you go with that.
And we've got Black Panther dealing with this sort of foreign soil aspect of it. So yeah, and haven't picked up the X-Men one yet.
When's it come out? Did it release?
I think it already did. Yeah. I just have had so many damn things on my pull box. I'm like, oh, do I add another one? And when we've got the Ultimates coming too, but like I feel like I just have to. So
yeah,
yep, yeah.
I really like this panel of him punching Bullseye.
Yeah,
this whole exchange
classic.
though, where he like doesn't know how to handle this type of stuff, right? Like even then he's like, oh, you need a better aim than that, and Bullseye's like, I wasn't aiming at you, and then like the thing starts falling down on him.
Yeah.
And then when he defeats him with Goblin, he's like, so what do? We like take this guy to the cops, or like he's like, I never caught any of these guys before, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, it's another kind of another way that it just distinguishes this Spider-Man from the Spider-Man that we know. Again, it's much more relatable to us as older people watching him kind of fumble his way through this at 30 to 35 or 40, I believe, right? He's 40 in this.
I forget if they said, but he's
either way, relatively somewhere around our age. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I really like this artwork too of them just standing, making this uneasy alliance. We'd probably say.
Yeah, I think that's the exact word I would use for it. That's a good way to put it.
And it seems like next issue, because it ends with them saying, hey, want to grab a drink?
Yeah.
So it feels like the beginning of that one's going to be a lot of exposition and sort of the exchanging of notes, I guess, between the two, even though I'm guessing Harry has a lot more notes on what's been going on than Peter. But just to kind of catch us up with what he knows and a lot of this background stuff that we've been kind of wondering in terms of the hierarchy of power in the DC universe.
It's about to change, right? Yeah. This is the cover.
Yeah. So that just screams like them two just, sitting at the coffee shop and just kind of riffing,
Yeah.
Interesting. I think we might have... There's a Roxxon thing here. But do you think... Okay, so in this...
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Do you see at the top, it looks like it says The Bulletin?
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be the name of Ben's place? Because then underneath
maybe the Daily Bulletin?
Yeah, I can't read what it says in the front part. It's right where the U is. And then it looks like they have the Daily Bugle, which is finally referencing the Goblin attack. And then we have this one, the extra Spider-Man. I don't know if these are real. Some of it's just artwork, right? But interesting, just to speculate on. And
that is some freaking good artwork, though. Like the pictures of the characters in the newspaper, is like slick. That is well done.
And they show and the little folder there that says who is Spider-Man, Ben Parker. So it seems like we're going to be exploring that as a bit of a plot thread of kind of Ben on this pursuit of who the real Spider-Man is, unaware that it's right under his nose this whole time.
Maybe he is actually the one that coins the word Spider-Man in this universe, huh?
Yeah, because I don't think he's called himself, or nobody's called him that yet. So yeah,
be interesting. This is Marco Cicchetto who does the art. It's very, very good. But you just made me think of something. Jonah and him and Ben kind of give Peter an odd look, though, right? When Peter's like, I like the guy dressed in black a lot. He seems really cool. It's like,
be a little less freaking out.
Yeah, normally the characters are like, oh, this guy's a whack
like, I think we saw
what are you talking about?
All right. Anything else about this comic? I'm going to read you the synopsis for next month here.
Okay. No, yeah, we covered all the bullet notes that I had here. So I don't know, Chris, you got anything else?
No, I think we covered it all. I thought Bullseye looked really cool. I don't know if
Yeah.
I harped on that too much, but let's just say the art was Bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
So
Who is the Green Goblin? Peter Parker's secret life starts fraying the edges of his personal life. J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker's pursuit of truth, or at least the news, stirs unrest with the world at large. And now that Spider Man may not have to operate alone, the real work of rebuilding this corrupt world can begin.
Interesting.
I'm kind of curious if Harry ends up being like a fake mentor to Peter, and he knows a little bit more. He teaches him the ropes a little bit, and I wonder if it sets up a relationship that Peter ends up regretting.
Like where Harry's just essentially kind of using him
Yeah,
for his own gain, whatever that may be. Mate, yeah, that could definitely be. I still go back and forth on if I think they're gonna make Harry a bad guy in this. I
I think they're
Part
gonna
of me
toe the
thinks
line.
he's, yeah,
They're
sort of
gonna toe the line.
anti-hero
Yep.
sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I could see that. I just, yeah, I'm just, I think I'm speaking more in terms of like, I don't think it's going to be this thing where it turns out it's like, oh, all this time I've been manipulating you, Peter, and I'm actually working for the maker because my dad is still alive. Like, I don't think it's going to be anything like one of those. You know what I mean?
No, no, I agree with that. I just when
Mm-hmm.
I see Harry, I see anything else, I'm just like skeptical.
Yeah, yeah, and it would almost be too much to have him just be,
A
another
sidekick type
dorky
thing.
neighborhood
Hmm.
superhero to
Yeah.
Peter. Yeah, there's got to be some edge there for sure.
Although
I
I
think
feel
it'll.
like it's interesting the sorry, Jordan. I feel like it's
Sorry.
interesting the goblin suit doesn't look that sinister. It's almost like a toned down goblin suit in terms of
It's an Iron Man suit.
yeah,
If somebody
basically.
made an Iron Man suit that looked like a goblin, yeah, dark tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go with what I thought at the beginning still. I think that they have good intentions of working together. I think something is going to get revealed or rub them the wrong way where they go down different paths.
Mm.
And I think it would be really cool if it's like maybe not even like the second arc of the run, but like the third or fourth arc, it comes back up again and it comes to a head. Like maybe at some point they get fed up with each other and stop working together, and then it comes to a head like issues down the line of like, I got to actually put a stop to this guy that kind of opened my eyes to what this world is, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
That'd be
that
cool.
sounds about right. Yeah.
I would love that restraint from the writers to keep that string going. I'm all for things like that because mature storytelling is something this storyline is excelling at.
That's what I liked about the original Ultimate too. I felt like they were able to drag stuff out enough without it like feeling too dragged out. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be stuff set up and come back around and all that kind of stuff that really worked in its favor.
Yeah, it's not dramatic irony, it's not forced.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped. Should be another good one.
All right, so that'll be next month where we talk Ultimate Spider-Man issue 4. You can email us, marvelplusrecaps@gmail.com. Share us your thoughts on what this issue meant to you and what you think is going to happen. You can also comment below in the YouTube video or reach out to us via social media, Twitter @TO Infinity Saga, Facebook.com/Infinity Saga Beyond. Yeah, so that's where you can reach all of us at those places. Instagram is like the full title, I think. Instagram, like to the Infinity Saga and Beyond. Make sure you follow us at all of those places. We just talked X-Men 97, so make sure you check that out. Those episodes will continue. And over on Elseworlds, we have a draft coming up that is going to be about the Justice League, drafting our DCU Justice League. We're going to have a special guest there, so make sure you check that out as that approaches. We also just had Chris's Smallville season 4 update over there.
Small bill.
My favorite season
And
so far, so season 4,
yeah,
check it out.
and we'll be, of course, recording more as we come with that. Over on Pod Awaken, still doing our chronological Clone Wars watch with my friend Logan. We had our Acolyte trailer thing dropped this weekend. So make sure you check that out. And I'm starting my series of guests to talk the High Republic as we start doing High Republic Road to the Acolyte, where I pick I had a lot of guests that wanted to come on and talk Star Wars the High Republic, and we're talking each book of Phase 1. Recorded the first one today, recording another one right after this. So I am excited to kind of dive into that, and I have 2 scheduled next week. I'm hard away, working away at that.
Nice. I know I said it on our Acolyte episode, but I'm really stoked as somebody who isn't so steeped in that High Republic lore to be able to watch those and learn a lot. Chris, I think those will help both of us, to be honest with you, as we get ready to watch the Acolyte, and won't be quite so lost when it finally gets here.
Oh hell yeah! I'm looking forward to that for sure. Jordan is a wealth of knowledge, and his guests are going to be so important to that. I really, I'm not even talking that up. I'm like, that is a service. So
thanks, guys. But yeah, follow all of those places. Make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that. But that's it. That's it for us here. Make sure you like and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel. Rate and review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify now. Have a great rest of your week. Or should I say have an ultimate week. And we'll catch you next time.